is up, everybody? How we doing?
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Oh, I feel like I haven't been on this meeting for quite a while. It's nice to see some faces. 4 of them anyway. Everybody's a little camera shy this morning. My goodness. All righty. Oh, geez. I just had something fly off the back of my desk. There we go. Hello, Shimei. How we doing?
Good morning. Doing good. How are you?
Good. Good. Well, I'm still coming down from a really cool President's Club in Nashville last week. That was pretty freaking awesome. So that was a fun place to be. So I hope all you guys are working your butts off to get to President's Club next year. I don't even know if they've announced where it's at. I don't think we know yet, but Nashville is pretty cool. If you haven't been to Nashville, go check it out. It's super fun. Lots of great music. All righty. So we are at 9:31. As I sent an email out yesterday, we're going to have Jeremiah talk here in a few minutes. But before we get rolling, guys, this is our last week of our 8-week spring challenge. So we've got just one more drawing to recognize some folks that were doing some of those activities. And then next week, so I want to get as much time as I can here with Jeremiah. We might pop in next week and just talk maybe a little bit about some of the success, failures, how it went, how'd it go? Did you learn something new from those challenges? Would you like to do something again, maybe as we head into the fall? And then also, we're going to talk a little bit about Adam has offered up to do kind of like a little accountability mastermind with some video stuff that he wants to do for like the next 6 weeks. So we'll kick that off here in the next 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And then, but basically meet together once a week and kind of challenge each other on doing different videos, go do them, come back, what worked, what didn't, talk about technology and tools and different things. And then, hooks and all that other fun stuff. So we'll get into some of that too. So lots of good stuff coming. But in the meantime, Noreen, do you want to put up the wheel and figure, or do we want to talk about prizes first?
Yeah.
What?
Do you want to show? Let's have Adam show the prizes again. This is the
What
last,
are the prizes,
last
Adam? Just
one.
so we can remind everybody. I know them by heart now. Although that patio cooler looks new.
Yeah, we've changed it up a little bit here and there.
And I don't think we've seen a picture of Tim Stinson on his paddleboard yet. So I don't know if he's on the call, but we got to see a photo, dude, of you out there getting your paddle on. All right.
It's too cold. It's too cold yet. You'll get it.
It'd look even better if you were in a wetsuit standing on a paddleboard.
You know what? I keep pushing, and it's going to be in my living room.
That could work too. I love it.
Cool. All right.
It's still
got
too
the
cold.
wheel
That's
up.
crazy.
And we are ready to spin.
All righty. Gonna be our lucky winner. Poor Jason Vassar. He's not even on this one. This guy's probably put in more than anybody. He gave up.
Craig Brock.
All right. Congrats, Craig.
All right. Congrats.
I love it. It's Craig. There you go, man. Congrats, buddy.
All right.
Well, there
if you know
go.
what
Just
you want,
Noreen,
let us know.
yes.
Or
It's when you put ice in any hotel, they have ice machines. You load up, you ride into the heat.
That's what I love about our
those
meeting.
damn ice machines.
This particular fuel gas, get it wet. You get
Craig,
it
do you know what
soaking
you
wet,
want, or do you want to? Do you want me to just email you afterwards?
just like
Oh,
this.
yeah, you can email me. I'll take a look at that. The cooler and the fire thing look really super cool.
Yeah,
So-
they are.
There you go.
Stress you're feeling while you're.
I'll let you know on that shortly.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
heat
sounds good.
strokes are a real big deal when you're on a motorcycle.
Mike, I
Who?
can't figure out who that is.
Especially
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. It was
Oh.
Todd.
I know. I was like scrolling through and I'm like, who is talking right now?
There you go. Awesome. Well, guys, I don't want to waste too much more time. Not as if that was a waste, but what we got today is really good content. So kind of as I described in the email yesterday, our leadership team worked with Jeremiah really for the last, probably 10, 11 weeks on just really revamping our whole way about recruiting and how we want to attract the ideal people that meet the tribe's, culture and all those types of things. And so our ideal candidate. And so one of the things that we learned was, pushing versus pulling when it comes to sales and relationship building. Oftentimes we tend to push as salespeople because we're excited. We see the opportunity. I always said sometimes when I meet with a customer and I see that they have a problem that I know that I can solve, but they don't totally know it, I tend to push. I'm like, dude, you have no idea this is going to work. You're going to save $350 a month. Are you stupid? That's pushing, right? And oftentimes it creates distrust and makes it much tougher for us to do what we need to do. So anyway, we really enjoyed it. And we've been actually using it in practice. Our conversations with our recruits have gotten better. We're getting deeper connections with people. And most importantly, we're weeding out the people we don't want to work with, which in a recruiting, that's probably more dangerous. We don't want to add people to our tribe that don't kind of meet the standard of what we're trying to do. So with no further ado, Jeremiah, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll go ahead and spotlight you as well so we can see your board.
Awesome. Most of leadership comes down to this. How can I get them to do what I want them to do? Now, it doesn't always sound like that, but that's basically it. How can I get them to do what I want them to do? And it's not just people who have manager in their title that want this. This is all of us. So here's a definition for a leader that may be different from how you're thinking about it. A leader is somebody who needs the cooperation of other people in order for them to be successful. So if you are in a role where you need other people's cooperation in order for you to win, hey, that's a leadership role. And there's some leadership skills. If you're not working on this stuff, you're probably suffering as a result. So how can I get them to do what I want? 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I had a client who got promoted into a management role. And it was a big promotion for them. They took over a large sales team and immediately ran into trouble. So I remember the agenda they set for our coaching meeting was, I need to figure out if or when I should fire my top salesperson. So they got promoted into a leadership role, sales management, and immediately the top salesperson, who was at the company longer than my client was, who was always the top producer, immediately started kind of pushing back against them. So the top producer thought they should have been promoted. So here's my client. They're now the manager of the team. Is the first thing I'm going to have to do as a manager, fire my top producer? That was the agenda. And so we started talking through it. And ultimately, here was what we decided to do. He went to the salesperson, went to their office, scheduled some time with them, went in, and said something like this: I could really use your advice. I'm a new leader, new manager here. You've been here a long time. You're wildly successful. And I'm having a problem. I'm not quite sure what to do about this other thing. He didn't bring up the problem with that person. But I went and asked for advice about something else that was real. It wasn't bullshit. So that was the plan. They were going to do that. And then next coaching session, we were going to check in and see how it went. Came back next time, 2 weeks later, and everything had changed. Everything. So this top salesperson who was insubordinate, who was like actively in meetings, pushing back against the leader, talking shit behind their back, all the stuff you would think when it comes to insubordination. All of a sudden, the salesperson was in alignment with the leader, and they were supporting them, and they were helping them. And it was like magic. This is a person who was figuring out how to fire somebody, and within a couple days, now had an ally on the team. How did they do it? They pulled, as opposed to pushed. So I want to share this idea with you. You may have heard it before, but I want to share this idea with you. And push versus pull. How do we push, and why do we push? Which is the bad thing. We don't want to push. We want to pull. But why does it happen? And what does it look like when we're doing it, so that you can be aware, you can recognize it. It's difficult to see. It's like the air we breathe. We just push on everybody, and we don't even know we're doing it. And then we don't understand why people are pushing back and resisting what we want. So we're going to go through push and pull, and then I'll have a few questions about this for you. So here we go. And if you have questions at the end of the time, we'll have a little time for Q&A. Okay. Push, pull. Push and pull are just two different ways to try to get what we want. It's just two different approaches. So often when people first hear about pushing and pulling, they make an assumption that, oh, Pulling is just giving up on what I want. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to make friends and kumbaya and hope things turn out for the best. No, pushing and pulling are just two approaches to getting what you want. Now, here's how we push. It's the bad one. Pushing. Pushing is getting someone to do what you want them to do because you're the boss, because you have power over them, you have authority over them. It's getting someone to do what you want them to do because you want them to do it. That's pushing. And we push, well, before the examples, the outcome of pushing, so pushing is getting them to do what you want them to do because you're the boss. So as a parent, we tend to push. As a boss, we tend to push. When we've got people that we have authority over, we tend to push. But here's the problem. We push in sales. And guess what? Your clients you're not their boss. You can't make them do what you want them to do. And so what pushing causes is the predictable outcome from pushing is that the other person does not take ownership of whatever it is that you want them to do. Okay? They do not take ownership. And so you really don't get what you want typically, or it's a lot harder. How do we push? There's 3 ways we push. First, we push by telling people what to do. You need to go do this. You should do this. If I were you, I would do this. Hey, here's some advice. Do this. So we push by telling people what to do. We push by attempting to convince people that we're right, that they should listen. Here's why I think it's important for you to do this thing that I'd like you to do. We're talking about it in the context of sales. Here's why this loan is good for you, and here's why you should take this loan. Right? Here's why you should, as a realtor, you should work with me. Here's why you should refer business to me. Let me convince you why I'm the best person you should refer business to. Pushing. The third way we push is getting answers. And these 3 methods, the common theme that they have is when we tell people what to do, it's not their idea and it's not their thing. And so they're less likely to do it. When we try to convince somebody of what to do, it's not their thing. It's not their idea. They're less likely to do it. And when we give answers, people are less likely to take ownership of that answer and actually do something with it. So if you wonder why you might have certain people in your life who are constantly coming to you for like the same answers you've given them before, this is why. Because you're pushing. You're just giving them the answers. There's no ownership on their part. And the problem with this, the big problem, is that pushing causes the single biggest leadership mistake. I call it the cardinal sin of leadership. The number one mistake that leaders make above everything is they take ownership away from other people. And then they get frustrated and they don't understand why people aren't sacrificing and going above and beyond and working as hard as they can. I've heard this so many times from clients. Why don't my people want to be successful as much as I want them to be successful? Like, why don't they do something with this stuff? It's so good. It works. Why won't they use it? Because we're pushing. Okay, so pushing is the cause. It's the reason of the biggest leadership mistake. Not just at work, at home, everywhere in our life. Pulling. Now, hold on. Before we move to pulling, why do we push? If it's difficult and if other people like resist what we want them to do, why do we do it? Curious your thoughts. If you catch yourself doing this, or if you've seen people doing this, if this is your natural style as a parent, as a leader, why? Why do you push?
I know, but I'm not supposed to answer.
Yeah. So what about the other folks. Okay. So in chat, I feel like they'll see how right I am. Okay. So it's like, if they would just listen to me, it's a direct way to fix the problem. So we know the answer. Like, obviously, shouldn't they do what we say? But why? What drives us? What drives us to use this approach? Okay, it seems efficient. Right. It seems like, well, obviously, like, Jeremiah, you're an idiot. How would I lead somebody or get them to like do what I want them to do if I don't tell them what to do? If I'm not convincing, right? So it seems obvious. Here's the problem is, we've learned this. That we learned this. We learned this from our parents. We learned this from our teachers. We've learned this from our bosses, typically. This is what we've seen in life. This is in pop culture. This is like in movies, TV, media. This is how you get someone to do what you want, is you push on them. So we learn it young. We see it reinforced everywhere. We see our parents telling people what to do, us what to do, other people what to do. We see our teachers doing it. We see bosses doing it. We're like, oh, that's what a leader does, right? A leader tells people what to do. Yeah, less effective leaders do that. Pulling, the other side of the coin. Pulling. So pushing is getting someone to do what you want them to do because you're the boss, because I said so, because you have to do it. Pulling is getting someone to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. I'm not giving up on the objective. You want somebody to do business with you, whether it's a realtor to refer you business, whether it's or a borrower to do a loan with you, right? You want them to do business with you. We're not giving up on that. We're just taking a different strategy, the opposite strategy of how you might be approaching it now. So pulling is getting someone to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Pushing takes a lot of energy. Like, one of the ways I diagnose pushing with clients and in organizations is pushing takes a lot of energy. So when there's stress, when there's burnout, when think about this. Have you ever had a project or a goal, something you wanted to happen, something you wanted someone else to do, but if you stopped driving it forward, it would literally just sit there and nothing would happen with it until you came back and looked at it again? If you've, sometimes my son is that way with like his chores. That is an indication you're pushing. If people are not taking it on their own and moving it forward, even when you're not there, you're pushing. But pushing seems like it's the right idea. It seems like it's the best way to get results. It seems like it's the quick way to fix the problem. That's why we do it. Pulling, on the other hand, can take a little more time. With pushing, it feels like we're in control. We're not, but it feels like we're in control. With pulling, it doesn't. And so it's often scary when people like start intentionally doing this. The outcome of pulling is they take ownership, the other person. Okay, 3 ways we pull. We pull, number 1, most important, by modeling the behavior for them. It's follow the leader, right? Someone put that in chat. We need to do what we want them to do. And it's not just things like show up on time for meetings. The story I told at the beginning, a client who had a big problem, top salesperson, was basically mutinying and was going to need to get fired. The strategy that we employed, that he did, that we came up with, was what I had asked him in the coaching session was, well, what do you want from this guy? What's the outcome you want from this top salesperson who right now is a huge pain in your ass? And the answer was, like, I want them to trust me. That's number 1. I want them to trust me. I want them to support me. to work with me, not against me. Okay, so you want them to trust you and you want them to work with you. What else? I want them to respect me. Okay, right now they're being disrespectful, right? Yes, okay. So what can you do that will model respect, that will show you respect them, that will show you trust them, and that will show that you have their back and are aligned with them? What could you do? And ultimately he landed on, I could ask for advice. And not some bullshit advice, but advice about something that actually I am dealing with, that I need to figure out. And actually, I don't have a great answer. So it wasn't fake, which is really important. So my client modeled the behavior. It was almost immediate, the change, that he had an ally where he had an enemy before. There's a great quote that this whole thing always reminds me of. Abraham Lincoln said, I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends. And that's what this is. Okay, modeling is the most important way. Asking questions and listening. Someone had written that in chat. Ask Socratic method. Ask questions instead of tell people what to do or tell people the answer. Modeling the behavior, asking questions and listening. And this isn't rocket science. You've heard this stuff before. What push-pull is a simple, compelling, concise framework. It's a way of thinking about this stuff that is actionable, makes sense, and is simple to understand, right? So these ideas are not new, but this is a very simple way to execute stuff you've read about for years. And you probably do occasionally. So asking and listening. Why is asking a question so powerful? You've used it. Okay, so it gives up power. People want to express themselves. Shows you're interested in what they think, right? So it shows there's some respect there. Gives them a chance to make decisions or to give answers. You get the answer. Okay, so that's a really good one. Often, one of the things we do that causes a lot of trouble as leaders is we guess. Besides, well, taking ownership away from guessing is a way of taking ownership away, because asking a question is a way of giving ownership to somebody. So guessing is one of the things we do that causes us the most trouble for us personally and for our organization. So asking a question, actually getting the right answer, not only the right answer, which can be important, their answer, which is everything. Leaders struggle with this. We all struggle with this when we know the answer. Like, I have the answer. Why would I go and ask questions? Why would I do this other thing? I have the answer. Right, nobody gives a shit. Because it's your answer. They don't care. Okay, so asking questions is a way to shift ownership from us to them. Modeling the behavior is a way to shift ownership from us to them. I think of it as this tennis match or pickleball. It's a battle over ownership. Intentional leaders, effective leaders, most people battle over ownership. They want to take the ownership, right? That's the typical battle for ownership is, no, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. The best leaders, it's a battle for ownership also, but it's giving it away. Oh, so they're going to try to give me ownership of it? Here, let me ask another question and hit it back into their court. And the third way we pull storytelling. Stories are a way, asking questions is a way, modeling the behavior is a way to share an idea, which is crucial. We want to share ideas, to share an idea in a way that doesn't take ownership from them. These are one way of looking at this, a cynical way of looking at this, is these are means to an end. They're means to an end. I want other people to take ownership because I know actually things will actually happen and everyone will be more successful when we all take ownership of our stuff. And so in a sense, these are a means to an end. If I do these things consistently, other people will take more ownership, and then there's a lot of good things that come out of that. When I do these things consistently, which is, let's be honest, our natural state in life, they are less likely to take ownership and more is going to be on my plate. I call it inappropriate ownership. And we do this all the time. Take inappropriate ownership of other people's stuff. We may do it because we think it's good, right? As parents, we suck at this. I catch myself all the time as dad, 7-year-old son. I take ownership of Gable's problems and challenges. And struggles. I catch myself taking ownership of those, which robs him of ownership, and he is less likely to do something about it. And so now I put myself in this position to constantly rescue my son. Is that the human I want to raise? Absolutely not. But we do it. Push, pull. Here are some, what I would encourage is just to start to pay attention to this stuff. Once you pay attention, once you're noticing pushing and pulling, you see it everywhere. You catch yourself doing it. You'll catch yourself after. At first, it's okay. You'll do something, you'll be like, oh, I totally just pushed on that client, or I just pushed on that realtor, or I just pushed on whoever it is. But then you'll start catching yourself while you're doing it better. And then you'll start catching yourself before you do it. That's the best. So I'd encourage you to just start paying attention initially. Here are a couple situations in which we feel like we have to push. So these are the danger zones. Danger zone number 1, when we have a sense of urgency. If I think something needs to happen now, my chances of pulling are like so low. So sense of urgency is 1. The second, unfortunately, is when we really care about the outcome. So if I really, really, really want something to happen, chances are if I'm left unchecked, I'm going to push the hell out of it and then pay the price later. So those are the 2 things we need to be aware of, both for ourselves and kind of as you're looking around, watching this happen. When there's a high sense of urgency, just know you are going to want to push. You're going to have to like stop yourself and be really intentional about, okay, and here's a conversation I have all the time, internal conversation with myself, external with people I care about, clients, which is, okay, hold on. So here's what I want. What I feel like I should do is push. Okay, I know that's bad. How can I pull? What would pulling look like in this situation? That's the question. If you can start, if there's something you want to happen, whether it's a meeting, okay, I want to go in and I want this borrower to agree to do business with me. Whatever the outcome is, if you stop ahead of time and be like, okay, how can I pull this instead of push? What's the question? What are the questions I can ask to help them take ownership of it? What are the stories I can share? How should I be modeling behavior? That is where magic starts to happen. I know we have like 30 seconds left. I'm going to leave you with this. I've been coaching on this stuff for 16 years. I know it. I've written on it, spoke on it like this. I know this inside and out, and it still gets me. I still push sometimes. And so this is, and the area where it's unacceptable for me to be pushing and where I caught myself, well, my wife caught me pushing, is with our son. I would, when he's being the dick, when he's like being naughty, pushing back, being all those things that a 7-year-old boy can do, I would take it personally. And guess what happens when we take shit personally? We push. And so I caught myself doing things that are harming my relationship with my son, the most important relationships in my life. So here's what I have. This is my reminder. This is on my laptop. It's not about me. If I'm going to lead somebody effectively, whether it's my son, a client, anybody, or if I'm going to pull effectively, I cannot make it about me and what I want. If I know this about myself, if I can exist in the world in a place where I'm there to serve, and it's not about what I want right now, I will likely crush my life, have awesome relationships, ton of purpose, a lot of success in a lot of areas, if it's not about me. That's all I got. We don't have any time.
That's great. Now that's awesome, Jeremiah. And before we let people go, and if you guys want to jump off, of course you can. But I did want to share something that that you guys are all very, very familiar with, because we've talked about this one time and time again. When you think about pushing and pulling, right? This is the philosophy of how we have conversations with customers and with realtors. This is a completely pulling conversation. So as Jeremiah was saying, when we're talking to a realtor and we want them to refer us business, we oftentimes come right to step 4 and we start listing out all the things that we do, and we're convincing, we're selling, right? We're giving them the answers. Here's what I can do for you. This is how your business is going to take off. You start working with me, you're going to be a top producer in your office. Trust me, and you just start rolling down this thing. So when we start talking about pulling, in that conversation, hey, and we're problem solvers, right? What are the challenges you have in your business right now? Why are you not hitting your goals? And then, hey, if you were unable to fix that problem, what is your loan officer that you're working with currently doing to help you solve that? Oh, they're trying that and trying that. Okay, great. You're just there to learn. That's what we're trying to do. We're seeking information. And if we follow this process in a pulling manner, they will literally tell you exactly what they need you to do to win their business. They'll literally, this is what these questions are designed to do, is tell you exactly what you need to do to earn their business. And this is a very high trust conversation. And last thing I thought about as you were talking, Jeremiah, about questions, and I'll put this up here while we're talking. If you guys want to know how to ask better questions, here's a good little thing. TED, just think TED Talk. Tell me, explain, describe. Those are open-ended questions versus, hey, are you happy with your realtor? Yeah. Have you thought about changing a realtor or loan officers? No. So instead, hey, tell me what your loan officer does to support your business. You want to stump a realtor? Ask them that question, because they probably don't know why they're working with them. But one thing I know that popped in my head, sorry, Jeremiah, was the person asking the questions is actually the one in charge of the conversation.
Yeah.
You're the one you can ask questions and paint them right into a corner and get them to tell you what you need to know in order to serve somebody. So we all got to get better at asking questions, but great stuff, man. Not a push. I love the pull. I'm probably the most guilty pusher out there, but Jeremiah's not kidding. As you start to have conversations like this, it will jump off the phone or the screen when someone is pushing. I've had several conversations the last couple of months that just blow my mind how obvious it is now. And it's uncomfortable. And I don't want somebody to give me the answers. When you're trying to figure something out, your wife's over your shoulder saying, babe, you got to put the screw in there. That's why you put the little thing together. You're like, dude, I know what I'm doing, right? Nobody wants to be told the answers all the time. So Anyway, good stuff, Jeremiah. Any other questions, anybody?
Yeah, and feel free, if you could share my contact information. If anyone has any questions about stuff, you can always email me, text me. We can grab a call if we need to. Let me know how I can help.
Absolutely. And just so you guys know, Jeremiah's a coach. So if you guys want to work with Jeremiah, you can. I will put his information in the chat so you guys can refer back to it. So you'll have his phone number and his email address, and I'll even drop his website in there as well. All right, dude. Thanks so much, Jeremiah. We appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
Take care, guys. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.